Hey there. Good morning or good evening, good afternoon to you, wherever you're joining us from. We've got the Metabase team here for the 49 release webinar. We'll just give everyone a few minutes to get in and get settled. If you want to jump in the chat and say hello, Andrew's already got a head start on you. Hello there, and welcome from Minneapolis. If you want to tell us, also how the weather is where you're dialing in from. Oh, no one else? Everyone else is shy. Okay, that's cool. We'll get into it. If you still feel compelled to say hello, please do. But again, welcome. We're joined today. My name's Jess. I'm the product marketing manager here at Metabase. We're also joined by Connor, who's our product manager, and Lois, another product manager. And just a quick overview of the agenda today. We're just going to go through the new 49 release features. So Connor will be taking us through some dashboard improvements and trend charts. Luis will be taking us through API keys and serialization. And I will show you the CSV Append feature. And then at the end, we'll wrap it up with some Q&A. So if you have any questions that come to you throughout, feel free to drop them into the chat or save them up till the end. Cool. I think that's it. We've also got a poll over in the right-hand column. But yeah, we can come back to that later. Connor, I'll let you take it away.
Sounds great. I will share my screen and walk you guys through some of the new features in dashboards and trend charts in 49. Go ahead and share. Cool. Let me know in the chat if it's too small or too big. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that we're really excited about here. Hopefully bringing you to a smoother creation experience for dashboards and also providing a better experience for the people on the other end of the dashboard using it. So let's start the best way I know how, which is building out a dashboard together. We're going to go into edit mode, and you'll see right away that there's a new feature up here around sections. So these provide you with a templated starting place for your dashboard. So no more twiddling around with layout. You can start with something sensible and something very polished right off the bat. I like this option here. It has 4 smaller cards up top and 1 kind of bigger card showcased below. So let's go ahead and start building this out. We'll call this overview. And then you can see you have these blank cards as of now. You can go in and really easily start to fill these out. So maybe this is going to be the average quantity, the average discount, the average tax, and maybe the average order amount for our products. You can also go in and select a chart to feature here. And you can see just like this, we get to something pretty polished pretty quickly. Now, maybe I made a mistake with this chart. This wasn't the one I wanted. So now you can go and replace charts in place. So maybe this was the chart I wanted, or maybe I want to go back to that and I can just replace with the original. So you can swap stuff out in place and not have to worry about getting the sizing right for that specific chart. This is extra powerful when you pair it with duplicate. So if I want another chart that's just the same size, the same layout as this one, I can duplicate it and then go in and replace it. And just like that, we're getting to something really polished and really good looking really quickly. Now, let's build out a second tab. Let's make this example a little more real. So one way I could do that is by simply duplicating the tab. So now you can duplicate the tab and get all of your layout that you worked so hard on and pair that with replace. And you can start to kind of build out something with the exact same layout. For the sake of this demo, we'll just go ahead and kill this and start fresh. So maybe this first tab is an overview. Second tab can be something like drilling down into products. And we'll start with a section here as well. So maybe we want something like this where there's 4 evenly spaced cards. You can go in here. Let's give it a title. Drill down into product. And then we'll say product category. Later on, when we weave in filters, we'll reference this up here. It'll make a little bit more sense. So same as before, I can just go in and fill these in place. So maybe the average order, something like the rating for this given product, the cumulative like income we're getting from it, and then maybe I want to see like where people are purchasing these products from. So let's go ahead and add some filters to make this a little more real. So there's a couple new additions around filters. The first one is that we're a lot smarter about where we show filters. So now you can limit a filter to just a specific tab, and you can also make them required. So let's start with something basic like a date range. And go in here and wire this up to this field. This one is more broad, so we want this wired up across both tabs. Now let's add a second filter specific to this products kind of drill down tab. So we'll call this product category. And let's make this required. So this drill down tab only really makes sense with a product it's being filtered on. So we can require this filter now in Metabase 49 with a given default so that people are always seeing something sensible. So we're going to filter on doohickey as the default. And now we are going to go wire this up. So let's grab that from the text field. And then we're going to grab category. And let's make sure this isn't wired up on the first tab. So we're only showing it where it makes sense. If we hit save, we will see that on the overview tab, we have our filter. You can filter on date range and clear that out. But if I go over to the products tab, I get this filter over here, which is already set and filtered to doohickey. And I can go ahead and switch that. I can revert back to the first value, and it's always going to be filtered on something here. So you're always getting something sensible. The last thing I'll show here on dashboards is around layout. So you might notice in Metabase 49, we have these fixed margins over here. And that is so when we switch screen sizes, when maybe your boss or someone opens it up on a smaller screen, like we can guarantee that they're seeing the same thing that you're seeing. So you can alter this setting over here with full width and fixed width. This is more apparent when you're working with text fields, so that text doesn't get cut off. They always see the same thing. So if we go in here and add a text field to our products tab, and put this right here. We want to post some long text in here, the background, and go ahead and save that. Then now, despite the screen size I'm working at, you're going to see a consistent experience across different screen sizes. That's dashboards. If you have any questions or want to double click on anything, drop it in the chat. Happy to talk about it in a little bit. And with that, I'll show you a little bit more about the superpowers that we gave to trend charts. So let's build out a trend chart together. We're going to go ahead and look at the sum of some revenue over, say, a month. And let's make this a trend chart. And you get to something that all of you might be used to seeing. Where this gets cool, let's do a little light formatting first. Let's compact this. We're working with money, so let's make this money. Where this gets cool is with the number of comparisons you can do. So you can do previous month, that's the default, like you used to. You can also select an arbitrary look back window, compare to the previous value and ignore nulls, or select even a custom value. So let's show off a couple of those. Let's say I want to work with day instead of month here. And maybe the comparisons that I care about are, say, the last 7 days, maybe the last 30 days, and maybe some goal that we have set for our team. And you can see just like that, you get to a much richer story about this number than if you were to just have comparing to the previous month. You can also use data in other columns to create kind of the notion of dynamic goals. So if I want to go in here and add something else, like maybe the max of total, so maybe our all-time daily high in terms of sales, and go back to the settings here, I can remove this custom goal. Well, we allow up to 3 comparisons, so things don't get too cluttered, and click value from another column. I have max of total. That's the only other column available right now. Maybe I want to call that like all-time high score. And that'll be pulled in, and you can see that's reflected in real time. So like I said, you get to a much richer description of what this number means and a lot more context for the people looking at this number. This is also all supported in SQL. So if I go over here and do something like this, go over to visualization. Where's my trend chart? Let's do the same formatting here. Then you get all the same bells and whistles here. So SQL and visual questions, you can add up to 3 comparisons and do a heck of a lot more to add context to the number that you're working with. That's the improvements to dashboards and trend charts in 49. The team's super excited to get this in all of y'all's hands. So give it a spin and let us know how it goes. Cool. And like I said, if you have any questions, drop it in the chat. With that, I'll turn it over to Louise.
Yeah, hello everyone. So going to present new developer features that we have in Metabase. So yeah, as you know, Metabase integrates with other systems. So other platforms may want to integrate with Metabase. You also can have other services that interact with Metabase. And now we are working to make it better to integrate Metabase with other things. So the first thing that we changed is how you can authenticate with our API. So as I think many of you know, like if you go to our API documentation, you can do almost everything that you can do in the product, in the front end, directly in the UI. So you can create questions, you can create collections, you can add users, deactivate users, basically anything you can do. But to do that, you need to authenticate with the API. And before API keys, you require to add your passwords to the requests. It was not a very good experience. You would get a session token that could expire right after. So because of that, we added API keys to Metabase, and they are very straightforward to use. So now in the admin settings, you must be an admin to do this. You go to authentication, and you can create API keys. And here you have this UI. Basically, you create your API key, you give it a name. So I'll create something here. And then you select a group, and this group will be used to inherit permissions. So if you give the users group, this API key will have the same permissions as any user in this group, or you can choose administrators. So I already have some keys here. I will be using this one that inherits the administration permission. And so yeah, let me show you how this works. So, okay. So first thing, it's very, just to test things out, I will just check if my API is working. So I'm just getting a list of groups here. And as you can see, I'm listing the 2 groups that I have. So basically the same thing that you would see here, I'm seeing in that page. So the 2 groups. So yeah, I'm authenticated. This API requires admin rights to see. So yeah, it's inheriting the right permissions. So then you can do a bunch of stuff with your API. So I'll do just one very simple thing here. But you can imagine that you can use this for anything. So here I'm creating a new user. So I'm sending a post request to this endpoint and using my API key to authenticate. And then I have here my data with the data for this particular user. So if I come here, I receive a request that this worked. So yeah, now I have a new user here. And if I go to people, I can see this, actually this one. This is the new user that I just created. Yeah. This is available for all versions of Metabase, including open source. So yeah, feel free to try it out and check if you can extend Metabase in your system with this. We also added a new endpoint, API endpoint. This is only available for Pro and Enterprise versions. And these endpoints basically let people use our serialization feature using the API. And serialization is a very interesting feature because it transforms all your instance content and data model into YAML files, and then you can change, tweak your files, like your content, your questions, your dashboards as codes, and then re-import it or even move it to another instance. So I'll start here doing one export. So I'm exporting this instance. I'll just export one collection, collection 6, and let's see what happens here. So as soon as you export, this usually takes a few seconds, you get a tar file, so a compressed file. I need to uncompress this, so get this. And now I have YAMLs directory. And this is very interesting. What you can see here. First, you have a logs, and these are logs for the export, so you can see if everything went fine, and I don't have any errors here, so everything went as expected. And then you have 2 directories, one of database and one's collections. The database contains all the database that you have connected in your instance, and then you have the schema, the fields, and everything here. So you can tweak these things if you want, or you can just move them to a new instance. But the center of this is the collection part. So here you have all the questions and dashboards that you have in your instance. And in my case here, I selected to export only one collection, so I can see only one. And here I have YAML describing the collection, so I have the collection name. I have some metadata about this collection, like the description, other stuff. But I also have all the cards and dashboards that are there. So just come back here. This is the collection. And all these things are represented as code. So let me show what you can do with this. And you can imagine that it's very open-ended. There are many possibilities. So just change this for customers in California to customers in New York. And I will change all the questions to reflect this. So now it's the customer in a New York collection. I'll change this to New York KPIs. And then for this particular card here, count of people in California. I will change this for count of people in New York and change the query. Here I'm using a native query, but could be a visual query as well. So I'll change this query definition here. And yeah, that's it. So now I just have a new version of my YAML files. And what I need to do here is to compress this into a new tar file. So I'm compressing. So I generated this new import and I can push this to my instance. And again, using the API and API keys, I can do this very easily. So here's my endpoint to import my API key and the file. So doing this, I will receive some logs of what happened. And then we can see in the instance if it changed or not. So yeah, I loaded a bunch of stuff here and no errors. So if I go back to my instance and refresh, you can see now the collection is customer in New York, the dashboard changes. And if I go to this question, it's now filtering this. So yeah, there are many use cases you can imagine for serialization. If you have a development and production Metabase instance, you can move content between these instances. If you are using Metabase for embed analytics, you can create a conduct template of each of your customers and then automate a process to deploy for new customers. If you want to use Git to manage deployment of new Metabase content, you could also integrate this with a Git repository and version control your YAMLs. So there are many possibilities here. So that's it. If you have any questions, please ask in the chat. And just, take on.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. Let me share my screen now. Okay, this one is, so the CSV Append is a pretty quick one, but it's a pretty cool, powerful feature, especially for end users like me, who probably don't really have a whole lot of technical skills. There's data that I want to use in Metabase and manage and maintain, but I'm not going to add it to a database. And the CSV upload lets me bypass talking to my data team and getting them to prioritize bringing data in for me. So if you take a look here, here's a few models that I've created earlier. So we're going to Pixar movies because I do very important work here. So I've just got a CSV-based model that I've created earlier. I just uploaded a spreadsheet here. So as you can see, my Pixar movies, they end at 2015 as the last year release. But obviously a lot's happened since then, so I want to update this model. And I have a few new rows to add. So I can go over here to this upload button, and I can either append data to this model, or I can just, if I have like a running spreadsheet with rows that I'm adding as I'm going, I can just replace everything here. But as it is, I'm just going to append. And it's a nice quick one. Okay. And I'm not seeing it. Wait, why didn't it append my data? Okay, well, that's great. Let me start from fresh because I tried this earlier and it worked great. I'm just going to create a fresh Pixar movies model. And let me try again. Okay. Oh, maybe there's a problem with my CSV data. Well, that failed. Do either of you guys have a CSV-based model that you want to show this on?
Maybe.
No pressure. I mean, that's how it would work in theory. This is the fun of live demos. CSV upload is supported for Redshift now. Okay, cool. We'll pause on that for now. Maybe I can figure out what my problems are with my CSVs. But we can take the Q&A now if you guys are ready to chuck some questions at us. We just had the first about CSV upload being available for Redshift, so that's cool. And I just want to point out there's a bunch of other features in 49 that we haven't shown here, but definitely worth checking out. So you can find that on our blog, which is metabase.com/releases/metabase49-49. I'll drop that link in the chat.
Maybe I can show very quickly the uploads issue. I can upload two same things.
Yeah,
Maybe
go for
it
it.
work. So I can show some errors as well. So if I'm here uploading air travel, so oops. So if I upload something like this, I'll create a new model here. I get all of this data. If I try to upload something that don't match the schema, we'll get some errors. So like this don't match. And you see something like this. The CSV contains extra columns, so the schema must match, otherwise it won't work. So if I try to append exactly the same CSV again, it will work and just add more stuff to the end. Travel. So as you can see, I have more rows here. At 36, it was 23 before. But yeah, that's basically it.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you for saving my demo. Cool. Okay, we've got a few questions over here in the chat. So Alexander's asking, can I create multiple charts based on one query?
Yeah, I can take that one. So the way that we recommend to do that is with models. So if you create a model, that'll kind of serve as like your canonical data Lego. You can use that in multiple queries, multiple questions, and then any changes to the underlying model will be percolated through those questions. So that's the best way to do that right now. And then on relative dates in questions, excluding them, it's not available in 49. It is something that's on our radar though.
And Raquel's asking if she can configure different languages and dashboards.
So parameterizing the dashboard based on language isn't currently supported. You can change the language that you see, like in your account settings, but configuring based on, like, say, the user's time zone isn't currently supported.
Yeah, what we can do with serialization, if you need to, if you have, for instance, one customer with different languages and you have different collections for them, you can use serialization to translate your dashboard. It's not super, not good for if your users are sharing the same content, but if they have dedicated content, you could use that.
Cool. Danielle's got a question here about if there's an audit log available for API utilization. So how often each one is used, or if the calls or content each one is trying to touch.
Yeah, it's the same as any other thing for audit. So maybe I can show it very quickly here. Not sure if I have. Yeah, I have it here. So just share here 1 second. If you have like the API key will be a user in Metabase. So here you can see that I created that API key. A user one would be that first user, and then the API key created this new user here. So user invited by user ID 4. If you look who is user ID 4, you see that this is the API key. So all the API key activity is tracked in audit log.
Cool. Yeah, that was a great question. Anyone else sitting on a burning question before we wrap it up? Cool. I think that is looking like a wrap. Let me just drop in the link to the full release if you feel like reading more about this. Otherwise, I think we can call it. Thank you so much to everyone for joining. Thank you to Connor and Luis for presenting great demos, for also bailing my bad demo out. Cool. We'll see you again for Metabase 50 or before that. Cool. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
All right.